Strong, Maggie. Make it strong.
All right, yeah, the first time I missed it. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I was drafted. I did not volunteer. But
Did not refuse.
no, I didn't. That was weird. So I want you to look at this picture really closely. See where you are if you missed it, because next week, next Friday, the district governor will be here, and that means we're going to have a picture taken. And so if you love this one, just say goodbye to it. If you're not in it, be here next week, or you won't be in it again. And the board, we're meeting the night before, I guess, at Abruzzi's, so that's the hard part about being on the board. Got to go to Abruzzi's once a year. All right. I'm going, why is it moving? See, this is the problem. I don't know where the button is. Oh, the space button. See, I'm a mouse. I want to, well, we can go ahead and do this first. Anyone like to lead us in a pledge? All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And don't sit down yet. I'd like us to take a moment this morning to think about, and let's maybe send our hearts out to all the people who are displaced, homeless, and displaced because of war, because of weather, because of economic circumstances, and just realize that we are all very fortunate in our world right now to be where we are and who we are. So just take a moment. Thank you. This is a nice little reminder. There'll be a quiz next week, actually. I know the district governor likes to quiz us on that, so study up, got a week. All right. Any visiting Rotarians? We have one here.
Dan from the Noon Club.
Anybody else visiting? No visiting Rotarians? Okay. Guests.
My guest here is my son Weston. He has been here before when he sang with the madrigal choirs from Arcata High, and he played here once, I think, as a Valentines group too, but he's heading back down to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, where he's a mechanical engineering student, going to finish one of these days here in the not terribly distant future.
I have a guest. Yes. Yay, this is my mom. Kathy.
Hey, Mom!
Thank you. Any other guests? And I have our guest speaker today, Dan Birmingham, who will speak to us later. Okay. So recognition, just reminding everybody to send in your recognition stuff to this email that who does that go to? It's just whoever gets it. I don't know. I don't get it. Oh, so nope. That's sorry. Here we go. I thought we were done already. Oh, that was funny.
That was good. French.
Oh, sorry. Dan's also our tech guy. That worked out really well.
So I like to speak a little bit about my last 3 weeks, and I think I start with the biggest event, and that was a backpacking trip in the Trinity Alps to the Grizzly Lake, and it was my first backpacking trip. It was not the easiest, it was a lot of fun, and the walk was 3 days long. The first day we passed the first camp because we like to go up to the Grizzly Lake, but a little bit funny was and also exhausting. Then we was there and it was beautiful. Our camp was down there, so directly by the lake, and yeah.
Where is Grizzly Lake?
Trinity's.
Where?
Trinity Alps. Yeah. Yeah. This was directly by the lake, the tent, and it was really, really nice. So we had a lot of fun, and also the dinner and the food was good. So okay. The next weekend we went with Nick. Thank you, Nick. We're there. To the fair. So it was. Oh no. First we went with Andreas and also Jens. We went to a meeting from his barbecue from his company, and there we had the opportunity to play horseshoes, and it was really, really funny, and it's a really nice play. What in Germany didn't exist like this. There are other plays, but not the same like this. And yeah, after that we went directly to Nick, and he took us to the fair, and it was a lot of fun, and we spent there, I think, up to 9 o'clock, and then we went fast home. Because I had on the next day also other events, so it was a little bit. But the fair is a little bit different to Germany. There's also a festival with a lot of, how do you say this, trailers, where you have fun on it, but you don't have like all the competitions like the animals, and that was really interesting. And the food was also interesting.
Finn, is that's
Yeah.
a stick, not a tail, right? Okay, just making sure.
But it was really, really good. So inside was a Snickers.
Picture on the left. The horseshoes on the left.
Ah, yeah, the horseshoes. Right.
So that was Finn's first time ever playing
Whoa.
horseshoes.
Double ringers. Oh, man.
Nice.
He told the story that every time.
First time I ever did it.
Don't play pool.
Play for money?
Yeah, and the next day we went to the river high. It was, I think, how many miles? 5 miles?
He was 7.
Okay, 7 miles, 7 miles walk. So first we walked down to the river, all about the hills and the passes. And when we arrived at the river, we take first a little bit, we went swimming, and then we started our way back, and our way back was in the river. So we sometimes swim or went next to the river. And yeah, there are 2 pictures. We don't have so much pictures because we was always in the water. So, yeah. And then a little bit about my other things, what I did. Last weekend I went with Jen surfing, and this was after the backpacking trip. It was really, really good. That was my events and activities in the last 3 weeks.
Okay, thank you. That was really, I was staring mesmerized by the food every time. At least they did all that hiking. So So we have a craft talk this morning. And it's not with a K, it's with a C, so that means it's not going to be me. So Jen, you want to come up and
Sure.
do your craft? We get that out. First one.
Okay, I made this about a month ago when I thought I was doing it, and then various things have come up. So actually, I haven't looked over this for a little bit. I can wing it. Here's a little. I just wanted to give you a brief presentation about myself, a little bit about teaching. It's a little different than some of these more conventional jobs and careers in the community, so I don't think we have another teacher here, at least in Sunrise. But I went to Arcata High, so I'm a local. Just had my 20th class reunion this summer. I went to Chico State and have a bachelor's degree in psychology, and I ended up not doing anything with it. But if you know anything about teenagers, you can always use psychology. It was not a complete waste.
Or Rotarians.
Right, yes, yeah. I went to Texas Women's University, not women's, but actually Women's University. 98% women, they do admit men. And my master's degree is in women's studies. My thesis was heavily focused on women's history, and that's when I jumped ship and joined the history program there and did all my coursework in a second MA in history. And moved back home and never finished my thesis. So 10 years went by, and I've been teaching over at Arcata High, and went to HSU, got my credential. 10 years ended up going by. I attempted to try to figure out how to lock that last part in, and it was too late. So an opportunity came up just this last year. I don't know if you are familiar with Jack Borellis. He's our district grant writer. He was able to connect with Arizona State and the Gilder Lehrman Company, and there are 6 of us throughout Humboldt County, maybe 1 in Del Norte, that are in this program that is mainly here. It's also online through Arizona State. So I'm back in school right now, taking 2 classes online. I'm hoping to finish by next year. They won't take any of my credits from Texas Women's. But it's a loose end, even though it's 10 years later, it's a loose end that I never tied up, and I really have felt badly about that, and I'm doing it now. I want to be able to show my kids that I finished my start. And I can kind of understand a little bit more where my own students are at procrastination, papers in it, yeah. So that's where I'm at right now. Okay, so I teach history. I teach social science at Arcata High. This is my 9th year with the district. There we are last year at graduation, and all 3 of those guys in the back have retired now. So they all left. This was their last year. So we had a complete overhaul of the history program at Arcata High. We hired 3 new people, and they've been really fantastic. Jennifer Rosebrook and I are the kind of remaining people. So if you had children that went through, I'm sure you recognize some of these individuals. So new history department. I teach U.S. history, 2 sections of that. I teach 2 sections of AP European history. In the past, I've done world, I've done psychology, sociology, so that psych degree actually did come in handy.
Yeah.
And this year, they threw at me, because if you've been teaching long enough, you're bound to get this eventually. Leadership. Woohoo! So I'm the activities director this year. It's my first time
And
doing
in charge
that.
of the blood drive. Woo!
Yes, and yeah, and
John can help. John can
No
help.
pressure.
thank you. Yes,
a lot of pressure,
yes.
Some pressure.
No, I'm grateful for that. Various things that go along with activities director, blood drive being one of the main things we do with the community. But planning homecoming, these rallies, a lot of poster making. So I'm still figuring it out exactly what it all means. I didn't realize just how much time I'd be spending on these things outside of class, and it's fun. So just really quickly about history, it's a really interesting time right now to be teaching social science. And I love it because I feel as though you can really help to instill some critical thinking skills and to figure out help kids figure out what it is that they believe in, what is it that they stand for, where do they side with current things based on their understanding of history. So it's a really, it's an interesting time. Looking at multiple perspectives, I don't use a textbook in my class because I haven't found one I really like. So we use a lot of multiple, primary sources, secondary sources, and again, they make their own inferences based on what they're looking at. We just did a great one of why so many colonists died during Jamestown. It was pretty gross, and they loved it. So I'm hoping to promote good citizenship, informed adults figuring out, what it is that they believe in, what is it that they stand for, and obviously being able to connect with current events, because history may not repeat itself, but it rhymes often. So.
Is that yours? Is that your saying?
I'm sure it's not. I'm not that creative.
Who did you plagiarize that from?
I'm sure I did somewhere. Sounds, I don't know, Churchill-ish. Okay, this is my family. My husband's a local real estate agent. He's also from the area. He went to Arcata High. I didn't know him. He was 4 years older than me. We have 3 children. My daughter Emily is 14. She's a freshman at the high school, so I see her on campus. And I don't know how thrilled she is that I'm everywhere, but she's getting used to that. Our middle guy is 8. He's a 3rd grader at Jacoby Creek, and the little guy we still call the baby because he's the baby. So the baby is 4. He's in preschool, and it's pretty funny. So that is my family. Here are these children. Very sweet, very naughty. You can ask the McCaney's. They're our neighbors, naughty children. My daughter, a huge part of our life is my daughter is a competitive swimmer. And Humboldt County does not have a competition pool. So we can't compete here locally. So we spend, meaning I spend, a lot of our summers and several times throughout the year, we are traveling all over the place so my daughter can compete. So here's some of her teammates up in the top right. The guy on the very right, Kieran McNulty, is the first kid. He's 16. I actually have him in my class this year. He's the first kid in Humboldt County to make a junior national time. So in December, he's going to Austin, Texas, and he's going to compete there. And we've never seen that out of Humboldt County, so that's very exciting. Kieran's going to do that, so be looking for him in the news for sure. His older sister, who graduated from high school probably 8 or 9 years ago, Weston, maybe?
She was in the class in 2015.
2015, she made it to the Olympic trials in the last bout. So very, very talented family. You see, I actually, in most Rotary mornings, see his mother running by. Laura is running across the plaza. If you know the family, they're incredibly athletic. My daughter is also a dancer, so in addition to swimming every night except for Monday, and oftentimes in the mornings before school, she's dancing 3 nights a week too. She just moved up to point shoes, and I wasn't a dancer, but apparently this is a big deal, and she really is wanting to do that for a little while. She's going to eventually need to figure it out, and I can tell you there's not a whole lot of money in dance scholarships, but there is in swimming. So gently steer her somewhere that would be financially beneficial for our family. Here are just some more pictures of others. The Trilobite, our McCaney's are our dear friends and neighbors. We love to help them out with kinetic every year. My son is a Cub Scout. My husband was very busy with his job this summer, so I got to be the den mother at a camp at Camp McLaughlin. It was, and there he is with his little coonskin cap. It was, I think I told you this already this summer when I talked about my weekend. It was a little Lord of the Flies-ish, but it was fun. We had a good time. So there's the boys. Here we are at Niagara Falls, of all places, this summer. We were driving from Michigan. We cut across Canada, went to New York over the summer. You know, the turnoff is right there. It's like, gosh, when would we ever be back at Niagara Falls? Let's take the kids. We spent a grand total of 15 minutes there, and it's a big waterfall. Get back in the van. Okay. Yeah. And there he is. This is it. Yeah. And here's my husband. Any chance he can pull out that Uncle Sam costume, he does. And Finn, that's the Trinities. Where are you? That's Granite Lake. Not quite the hike of Grizzly, but it's a brutal hike too. So we love to backpack. So that's my craft talk.
Golly, this place is dangerous. Oh, all right, so we got that. That's so weird. Okay. I'm just going to stay back here, I guess. I'm afraid now. So, anybody not here wants to talk about it? That never works out. I don't know how we.
I was not
Oh, I
here
get it.
previously.
Okay. Anyone who was not here previously who wants to talk
Then
about
I'll
it?
do that.
Oh,
We got to go, Weston and I and wife Patty got to go to France for our niece's wedding. I never thought I'd make it to France, hardly been to Europe only once, but very briefly for like a conference. And we went there in late August, and she had a civil ceremony in Paris. We got to spend another day in Paris going to the Louvre and Eiffel Tower and the Arc de Triomphe, and then we took the high-speed train down to Avignon. That train is super impressive. Those who've been to Europe on the high-speed trains, man, America needs high-speed trains. Invest in that instead of wasting money on the military. That's a political thing. They rented like this villa in the wine country, and we got a Airbnb nearby and essentially partied for 5 days straight. I mean, it was really awesome. And the villages in southern France were fabulous. It was so cool. I mean, we'd end up on like a mountaintop of like what used to be some castle. They restore the castle, and you get up there, and it's like boulangeries and restaurants and all this stuff, and we're on the top of a mountain. It was just it was totally Disneyland. It was really awesome. We loved it. And our niece was so grateful that we came there, so we had a whole bunch of French people there because she married a Frenchman, and a bunch of Americans were there, and my very few words of French came in handy, but luckily they pretty much spoke English, and we had a totally awesome time, and we'll go back someday. It was really great.
nice. Anybody else? Anything? Yeah, after that, you're kind of like, yeah. I went down to the laundromat and did my laundry on Sunday. Okay. So, we have a couple announcements, so start with Howard. You want to?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, your time's up.
Last year we had a volunteer work day with trail work at the Arcata Community Forest. We had a great turnout. We had over 20 people come, and this year we're going to do it again on the 22nd of this month. That's Saturday, 8 days from now. And we'll be working from 9 o'clock to about noon. And then they'll provide a very nice hot lunch for us. There will be volunteers there besides us. So it's a great group. We get a lot done. Reese Hughes leads the whole thing, and if you know him, he's a very personable guy, and Mr. Trail of California. He's hiked almost the entire Pacific Crest Trail. So please sign up. I'll pass this around and put your name on the sign-up sheet, and we'll hope for a good turnout. Thank you.
Howard. RSVP, Retired Senior Volunteer Program, which is a program of the area agency where I work, provides those meals.
Oh, and they are so good.
Yeah, they do a good job. So.
Yeah.
Okay, Jessica.
Yeah, I have a RISE event.
Nice.
In fact, I have a RISE event for tomorrow. Yeah. So we're giving you a lot of notice. Isn't this great? Actually, we hope that if you're in town and want to come out to the North Country Fair, one of our own Bob Johnson, his band is performing at 3:20 tomorrow at the Garden Gate stage at the North Country Fair. So we thought, well, that sounds like a really fun RISE event, doesn't it?
It does.
At the committee meeting we had this week.
What can make it funner, though?
Well, Vanessa has graciously said, how about if I open my shop a few minutes earlier to be able to allow people to have their first round. So, 2:45, we have a pre-meeting before we go to the band. So 2:45 at the Griffin, and then 3:20 is what time the band performs.
Over at the Garden Gate stage.
Yeah, at the Garden Gate stage. Did I miss anything?
No, that ought to do it.
Good.
It's always a little packed, so I know where you are.
That's tomorrow, Saturday. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's the North Country Fair.
North Country Fair tomorrow.
Wow. Any other announcements?
Yeah, I just wanted to tune in on the Arcata Walk we had last weekend, and Out of the Darkness Walk. And I want to thank the club because they kicked ass.
Yes.
A lot of you volunteered and helped, and Romy led the team, and you guys were the top team. So you guys got to lead the walk or parade or whatever we're calling it this week. And Arcata Sunrise Rotary raised $3,245.
Yes.
Led by a donation from the club of 1,000. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
There's Romy.
Yes,
And,
that's correct.
and she's not here, so I'll embarrass her, but even Terry, she gave 500.
Yep.
Yeah, she's not here. She's pretty squeaky. And her husband donated 150, and he didn't even know it. So it was pretty funny because he's like, I donated money too, and I was like, thank you, Marty. So I just want to thank the club. It was great to have that kind of participation. We did. It's our third year. We're going to do probably about 34,000 fundraised, which is really good because it's not the sexiest of topics and fundraisers. And I think we had 368 people sign up and 30 teams. So it was good.
On our team, would you just stand up if you were on the team or if you donated? Yeah. All
And I want to just jump ahead a little bit because I got to get, but I get to name a Rotarian of the Week, and the one person I chose was Matt.
Yes.
I appreciate that. I was just thinking, fake president. No, I'm just kidding. So I didn't say that. I was just thinking it.
I knew that. So that's why I chose you. No, service above self. Great example this week and always. So thank you, Matt.
I want to give an opportunity if anybody missed my abalone talk and needs a makeup. I want to be the Southwestern Christmas program today. Nice.
Okay, so Rotary making a difference. This is a couple of things I did this week. I found that cat at home, and I found the owner of that dog that was running around the neighborhood at my office. So it was a pretty busy week. I did Rotarian of the Week already. Well, yeah, that was a
twist.
Is there something wrong with that?
Look at the back of the screen.
All right, so we are going to go ahead and introduce our program. Today, Dan Birmingham, who works with me at the Area 1 Agency on Aging, he does a lot of different things there. He also, he's not officially our tech person, but he knows a lot of tech, which is why he was doing it for us today, which I really appreciate. So Dan's going to talk to us about a program that we're running at the Area Agency, or a service we're trying to get going, and see how you can get involved. All right, so Dan, let me quick. Oh no. I'm using the mouse, and that's what happened.
Well, you're not in the presentation.
There we go.
Out.
There you go.
Great, thank you, Maggie. So hello everyone, again my name is Dan Birmingham, Area 1 Agency on Aging. Very quickly at A1AA, we serve older adults in Del Norte and Humboldt counties. And in a nutshell, we help older adults in those counties to live independently or age in place and provide a variety of direct services. And if you want to know more about that, of course, you have a member who is in A1AA, so I'll always ask her if you have any questions more about A1AA. So one of those services we provide to help fulfill our mission is a new service that we've started called the Homesharing Support Services Program, or for short, it's nicknamed as the NEST. So a little bit of framing as to why we felt like this would be a good service is we acknowledge as an agency that there is a housing crisis happening in Humboldt County and throughout the country, and this could be one of the multitude of options to help alleviate that crisis. Not just a shortage of affordable housing, but also there are people who, we have a rising cost of living, but not, the incomes and the benefits, especially for older adults, is not matching that. So there's a crisis there. They might not be without a home, but they're just living on that edge. So a home sharing program might help that. So briefly, what is the NEST? And so this is my definition here, would say support service of the Area 1 Agency on Aging to help with the creation and maintenance of home sharing arrangements. So that is the goal of that program, is to help support our community in creating and maintaining sustainable home sharing arrangements. And I came up with this little tagline, we're helping our community prepare to share. So that's what I want you to think about as I talk more about what we're doing with the home sharing program. We're helping people to prepare to do this if they feel like that's something they might want to explore. We have gotten lots of calls in the past. I'm the information and assistance manager, so we get lots of calls of a variety of questions, and one of the frequent ones has been, I have an extra bedroom in my house, I'd like to rent it out, I'd like to share it with somebody, what do I do? And in the past, I was like, I'm not sure, I can direct you here, I can direct you there. So getting lots of those calls, I felt like that this would be could be a good solution for some people in our community. Okay, so a bit more about what is home sharing. I'd like to share at least two main points. One of them is that home sharing is when two unrelated people live together in the homeowner's house in exchange for rent, services, or a mixture of both. So an emphasis that this is for people who are homeowner occupied homes, and that's where it might be a bit different than a typical rental situation where you have roommates renting from a landlord who lives wherever else. This is a bit different than that. This is to help to benefit the homeowner who is in that home and owns that home. The other point is it focuses on sharing common living areas like the living room, kitchen, while both having separate bedrooms. So that emphasis on sharing. So there's that exchange of sharing within the home, and that's an important part of home sharing. Few definitions that we can use to help get a common language around this. The first one being a homemate. So a homemate would be a person that you like and respect, whose way of living is compatible enough that you are comfortable living together. So of course I emphasize enough because we're never going to find anybody that's exactly compatible with us. There's always going to be something. And I think that also is important because we might be thinking as a community or as a society, well, I'm at a certain point in my life where I don't feel like I could let somebody into my home and share with them. I'm set in my ways in some ways. And I would encourage everyone to challenge themselves. I feel like we all have a capacity to be flexible, to accommodate things, to be accommodating to each other. And it's just a matter of being willing to do that and having that capacity to do that. And that's one of the things we're doing as a home sharing support program. So a home provider is a homemate who's making their house available to live in. So I'll be using that term, home provider. And then home seeker is, of course, the homemate looking for a place to live. Some benefits to being a home provider or home seeker, or just the community as a whole. So of course, as the home provider, the person who's living in that home, who owns that home, it could provide a little additional income for them. It could help with the costs of living that are rising, but their incomes are not. It could help with a little additional help around the house, so such as maybe some chores or transportation, or help around the yard, or things like that. It's again, it's an intentional process that people are sharing, that those homemates are sharing within the home, sharing those responsibilities. It could provide some security for the home provider as well. If they're living alone in their home, it could provide some security to have somebody else around if something happens or if they need to leave. You've got almost a built-in home sitter for your house too. So that could be another great benefit for a home provider. And of course, companionship is another great benefit of that as well, having somebody else around to interact with. We are social beings, and so it's great to have somebody around that you can interact with on occasion. We're not saying that you have to have lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner together, and that you do everything together, but it's just a matter of you have somebody around, you're going to at least say hi, and so that's some companionship, and that's some social interaction there as well. Home seeker, very similar benefits. It can provide an affordable housing situation for a home seeker because there's this expectation that people are sharing. There's also that expectation that the market or that the rent or the services are going to be a bit lower than market rent. You're not paying for a place to have all by yourself. You're sharing those expenses. So it could be a little bit more affordable for somebody who needs that. Mutual support. So not only is the home provider getting help, well, of course, the home seeker, the other homemate in the home could also get some assistance from the home provider. It's a sharing situation. And then, of course, that companionship, and that's the overlap, again, between benefits for home providers and home seekers. So some benefits to the community. It can reduce the need for costly long-term care options. So for home providers, we're really kind of, as the Area 1 Agency on Aging, we're targeting older adults. And as I said earlier, we do want to support seniors to be able to live in their homes as long as possible. And this could be a way to do that and help to reduce to help them to be able to remain to live in their homes instead of going to a long-term care situation, which is vastly more expensive than being able to have someone come into your home and help around with those things and to live together. And it's efficient. It's an efficient way to provide housing. So we're using this model of housing is using existing housing stock instead of building new buildings, which is another good solution, but we can only build so much, and we only have so much space to build. This is a way to use our existing resources as a community to provide more housing. So it's a very efficient way of providing new housing. And it preserves that social fabric. So by helping each other out, by doing a home sharing situation, this helps to help people to remain living in the communities that they're living in. They're not priced out of it. They're not, this gives them the resources they need to be able to stay where they have lived for so many years instead of, I can't afford to live here anymore, I have to move. And of course, there's a lot of ramifications of that as well. So it's another good benefit to the community for a home sharing type of model. So who should consider home sharing? I talked about it a little bit already, but of course owner-occupied homeowners who have an extra bedroom in their home, people who are spending a large portion of their income on housing. Again, this could be a good option for them to consider. Persons who can live independently and value community. So we're talking about people who can live independently and who do value that sort of interaction, value having that type of community. And so this could be appealing to seniors, as I said, as home providers, but also as home seekers. To students as well, we acknowledge that HSU is also having a housing crisis. There's not enough housing for students for there, and that could be a good option as well for students. And of course, anybody who feels like this could be a good option for them. It's not restricted to one population or one age or another. It's something that has been going on for a long time and can continue, and this is just an idea that we want to bring back into the public consciousness as we see that housing crisis and we see that people need some assistance in their homes. And then one more point I want to make on this too is home sharing is generally not intended to replace medical services. So again, there's this expectation that each homemate can live independently and that they're not providing medical services to each other. It's also not necessarily meant for emergency housing. This is a very intentional process, as you might assume that you really take some time on finding someone who you're compatible living with before you live with them. And then also taking time to talk out every little scenario or your fears or anxieties, all that, taking that time to do that before you move in, because then that, of course, reduces the likelihood that you'll have to get into that situation that I'm sure you're all feeling, you know, the elephant in the room, like, well, what if I have to kick this person out or evict them? So by taking that time to be intentional, to have that intentional process beforehand, that helps to reduce that. And then also talking about, well, talking with the other person, what do we do if how do we do this process if it comes to the point where we have to talk about you leaving? What does that look like? Why can't we talk about that beforehand to help reduce that or be prepared if that does happen? A few types of home sharing arrangements. So of course, rent and services or a combination. So rent, you know, they pay a set amount of money to the home provider. Services, again, a rent could be a rent-free room or a reduced rent for services such as transportation, cooking, laundry, errands, those sorts of things, but non-medical types of services. And then a combination can be done as well. What I think is really appealing about home sharing is that it's flexible and not all 2 home sharing arrangements look alike. It really could be customized down to the letter about what it looks like for each person. I think that can be very exciting for this type of thing. It's really tailored to those people who are doing it. So some things that we ask everyone to think about if home sharing is in their future. That's what I mean by this intentional process, thinking about how willing are they to be flexible and accommodating, how comfortable are they with change, what would be some of the house rules. That's something definitely to think about ahead of time. And of course, who would I like to live with? You know, making that list of who would I feel like I might want to live with, and then also being flexible as well, being compatible. Having that capacity to be flexible if you don't find that person who exactly fits your list, because it's very unlikely that'll happen. And then some other things that we encourage everyone to think about is talk with your professionals. So you haven't heard me talk about anything about, you know, insurance or income or legal, stuff like that. That is for the professionals to address, so we encourage everyone who wants to do home sharing, whether they're the home provider or the home seeker, to always talk to your insurance agents, to talk to your accountants, to talk to those people about it first, to really talk with them to see how this might impact your life in those ways, to be prepared for that. So this is one of the tools, when I said that we're helping people prepare to share, this is one of the tools that we're connecting people to. There are other options out there. There are things that have been done. Of course, people can use classifieds or put notes up or, you know, put flyers up to find a homemate. But this is an option that has been used throughout the country. It's called Silver Nest, silvernest.com/redwoods. And so this website provides a service of homemate matching. So you join this website and you fill out with a very base level about what you're looking for, who you are, what your preferences are, that sort of thing, and then it does its magical algorithm, and then it matches you with somebody in that area who you might be compatible with to help you then start that conversation. It also does background screening and those sorts of things as well. So we do encourage everyone to use this. Again, we're providing tools to help people prepare to share, but it's not required. But we do encourage everyone to use it to help to create a sustainable home sharing arrangement. Another resource is the Sharing Housing Guidebook by Anna Marie Kluhard. This came out in 2011, so it's been out for a bit, but it really is a very accessible, thorough book on how to home share. So we're definitely encouraging everyone who is interested to check out that book. On her website, she also has webinars that she provides, workbooks, worksheets, stuff like that as well. So this is another resource, another tool that we're connecting the community to. And then something that you can do if you're interested in any capacity, yeah, maybe right now, later, sometime, I don't know. Whatever your degree of interest might be, on Sunday, this coming Sunday, September 16th, we're doing a home sharing snack and chat. So this is, as the name implies, we want it to be a comfortable, fun place where people can come and to snack on some food and chat, talk with each other about what home sharing might look like, what their concerns might be, asking questions of each other, asking questions of me, connecting people to those resources we talked about. So it's really a social gathering. It's a community event, and that'll be on Sunday at the Arcata D Street Neighborhood Center. It's 1301 D Street, and Sunday from 5 to 7. So everyone is welcome. Again, whatever your capacity might be or your interest might be in home sharing, or if you're not interested but you have experience home sharing or doing something like that, I'd also encourage you to come, because those are good experiences to share with others who might be thinking about doing something like that. And then other resources you can find on our website at a1aa.org/homesharing, or give me a call at A1AA, and there's my contact information. That's my presentation.
We have a couple minutes for questions if anyone has any question or comment.
What's the ideal situation? Is it better, in your experience, is it found to have a senior that is the home seeker or the home sharer? If this is really about the benefit to seniors, what's the better situation?
Well, I think for that, I mean, again, like I mentioned in my presentation, that in ideal situations, whatever works well for you, whatever works well for the person engaging in home sharing. So that's, yeah.
I mean, obviously for the senior looking for housing, that's a better arrangement. I mean, it's very personalized, but, and it could be both. I mean, you know, what we're trying to do is help people match up and help people find other alternatives for housing, because there's a lot of housing stock that is being lived in by one or two people that is a house that had children in it. And we have a lot, and they're not moving, and there's a lot of reasons that we don't leave the homes that we raised our kids in, but it's a problem because there just isn't enough. So we thought, well, if you have space, and you might be worried. I mean, I know people who, the kids don't live here, the older parent is living here alone in the home, they worry what happens if she falls at night, all these different things, and if there was somebody living there who isn't a caregiver, but is a roommate that would hopefully, like any of us at any age, if we fall and bump our head, we hope our roommate's going to do something. So having that extra, for some people, that might be the biggest thing and there may not be a whole lot of interaction, but at least there's someone there. So it's really individualized. I do happen to know that listening to Dan speak, I'm thinking that I'm going to move in with Bob and Susan. Because
there's another room, me too.
So I mean, you know, so it's not even, you know, we're all there. I mean, we're all, you know, at the place where either we might be looking for housing or we may have space. I mean, it's an option. So we'll talk.
Okay. That brings up a worry of mine. I was wondering if there had been any problems with changing the complexion of a neighborhood when the seniors are up partying all night.
Well, I know that your house is for that. There's another question.
Yes.
How successful has this program been? How many housemates have you matched or have been matched in Humboldt County? Is it being utilized?
Well, we're still working on that. It's very much we need to get this out into the community and make people aware of it and bring it back into the public consciousness. By that I mean it's something that has been done for a long time in the past, like since the 60s and 70s, but fell out of favor, and it's back now. And so we want to be able to make that as an option to people. To answer your question about how successful has it been, we're taking a bit of different approach where we're not doing the matching. We're preparing people to share. So it's really up to them to do the matching. So we're not necessarily enrolling people in a certain program right now. We might do that in the future if we have the resources for that. But we're just making this as an idea that people could use, and providing them those tools to do it if they want to.
Are there age parameters like that prevent people from being the house provider or with adults?
Yeah, over the age of 18 adults.
I can give a little testimony, not personally, but I know 2 senior citizens, each of whom lost their mate died. And just as companionship, they opened their house, I think in both cases to students even. And generally, you know, there's some challenges at times, but generally it worked well for them. It gave them companionship, really, first and foremost.
I appreciate you sharing a positive story. Often, the first thing that comes up is the scary stories, and I encourage everyone to think that as many of those, there's those one scary stories. There's 9 or 10 other great stories as well.
So, and the other thing about Silvernest, if you go on and look, they're pretty active in Denver, in Colorado. So that is as successful as people who get on it, obviously. So one thing we're trying to do is encourage people, if they're all interested, to get signed up with Silvernest, so that when people are looking, you know, it's another mechanism for finding it. But you have to build the housing stock. So we're out trying to, before we get everyone looking for a room, we need to have rooms. We need to encourage homeowners to put themselves out there. Yeah, John.
So there are statistics about how many empty houses there are and such. Is there any kind of measure on capacity in existing homes? I mean, does anybody know how many people are living alone in a 3-bedroom house?
Well, there are ways to get the stats on how many people are living alone, but then you'd have to cross-reference it with who owns the home ownership thing. So I don't know. But I mean, I know in my side gig, but also my work at the area agency, a lot of the seniors we work with are living alone. And social isolation is a huge issue for not just, quote, seniors, whatever that means, which I think seniors is always 5 years older, 10 years older than you are, but it's something that people, even in their 40s and 50s, because of the way we do social media and a lot of different things, more and more people are socially isolated, and they go to work, but they may not. It's interesting what's happening. So this is another way to kind of bring people back together a little bit. We, of course, are not socially isolated because we're all here. So thank you. If you have more questions, you can ask Dan. Raffle time.
Do the honors.
Oh. Just one?
Well, we picked 2 tickets. I'll pick one go ahead and share them for you. But go ahead.
The number?
I use them on the phone.
481-206. Oh.
Oh, winner!
So how much did he win? I don't know what that means. $20.
And that was it, 'cause that's the only ball. Can we do another?
Yeah, you throw it back in and do another one. It's $20 again.
$20 again. $20. That's all it was.
We've been having a lot of these winners.
Yeah. People have been winning quickly on this. We haven't been able to build it.
481-250-250.
You got lucky, last person.
So this is from your president, Ray.
He sent this?
Yeah. Hey. So with that, go out and be as decisive as you can today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Maggie.
We'll see you. Remember, next week DG's here, so be here or be square.